Section L is a part of your treasure map when it comes to government contracting. Specifically, Section L provides you with key instructions and key information related to the opportunity that you're responding to. If you do not pay attention to the instructions that's contained within Section L, then the likelihood of winning or being awarded a government contract is greatly reduced. In this video, I highlight information that's typically requested under Section L and why you should care. My name is Troy Small. I'm a consultant with Skyway Acquisition, and in this video, we're going to discuss Section L. So what is Section L? Section L are the instructions and conditions and notices to offers or respondents. It is a part of the uniform contract format. So we recently did a video on the UCF, and if you listen to that video, you'll remember that Section L is a part of the UCF. It's prescribed at FAR 15.204 TAC 5B, which is Part 4, representations and instructions. So it's Part 4 of the uniform contract format, and the name of it is representations and instructions. So under Section L, contracting officers will insert solicitation provisions, information and instructions, right, to guide the offerers and respondents in preparing their proposals or their responses to requests for information. So basically what that means is, let's kind of break that down. So offerers are corporate entities that are proposing a response to an RFQ or an RFP, if you will, right? A respondent, an example of a respondent is someone that's responding to a sources sought notice or a request for information, if you will, right? Because there's not going to be a resulting contract from an RFI. So no offers will be accepted, only responses, right? So that's the difference between those two words. Sometimes they may be used interchangeably, but basically what they mean is a government contractor who's basically responding to a sources sought notice, a request for information, or some type of RFQ or RFP. So the offerers and respondents are instructed to submit proposals or information in a specific format or in severable parts to facilitate evaluation, meaning that, so the severable parts piece, meaning that the contracting officer may require multiple or separate volumes of information. As an example, they may require a technical volume. They may require a past performance volume. They may require a cost volume. And they may require that each of these volumes be separate and distinct in and of themselves and not included as one. For instance, most times your cost price volume is going to be separate than the remainder of the technical information, because usually the cost price is reviewed by really the contracting officer or the contract specialist. They may also have a person within the program that helps facilitate their review. They may do a pre-review of the financial information. I personally have been involved in that situation where I've basically qualified the numbers based on certain metrics, and I, made a list of those who were unqualified and why based on my review and the list that was the guidance that was provided by the contracting officer. And, those who were qualified, I provide that back. And now the contracting officer has, what they need to provide their review and their analysis, if you will. So the types of information that's contained in Section L. So the instructions in Section L basically will help provide further guidance on the proposal and response parts. So there are a number of things that can be contained within Section L, and this is why this should be like an X on your proposal treasure map or your government contracting treasure map. So as an example, administrative data will be contained in this section. As an example, page count, like how many pages can your response be? What font must be used or the size of the font? How big may your margins be? half-inch margins, 1-inch margins, what have you. Graphs and tables. Do graphs and tables count towards your page count? Do graphs and tables have to be labeled as such? You see what I mean? The due date for the RFI or the RFQ. So that type of administrative information will be contained in Section L. Other information will be like management. So, they may want you to provide information on your management approach. As an example, they may want to see an organizational chart, org chart, right? Key personnel and resumes. Typically, if there is a requirement that for key personnel, then there will be a subsequent or equal requirement for resumes for those key personnel. And the reason why is because the resume is supposed to provide a snapshot picture of this key person and their experience and past experience in their education. Other things that may be asked for under management, they may want to know, well, what is the company's plan for hiring and replacing program personnel? Let's say you have 20 FTEs, and so maybe 1 or 2 people may leave in the course of the contract. They may want to know, how are you going to facilitate that process of someone leaving and then replacing someone? Because of course that person has to be qualified and they have to be approved by the government. Other management items that can be looked at are like quality assurance, governance, and like communication strategy. Like, what is the flow of communication within the contractor team, right? When they're engaging with the government or once they receive direction from the government. Another type of information that's contained in Section L will be like technical information, such as they may ask you to provide a sample production task. So they may give you a sample production task and you will have to write a response to that task. They may have you provide production demonstration models, PDMs. They may have you send in samples. They may require a work breakdown structure. Maybe you're dealing with a lot of highly qualified full-time equivalents, engineers and program managers and cost folks and budget people and analysts, and you need a work breakdown structure, right? So they can see where the people are and how the flow goes. Even they may give a surge scenario under a technical volume. And that if you're a manufacturing firm or engineering for that matter, and you're producing something for the government, they may give you a scenario where they may order an additional quantity of 10 or 100, right? But they need this in an expedited time frame. And this is in addition to the normal production, right? So they may want you to show how you will surge to that requirement. Past performance, of course, is something else that's contained in Section L. Past performance, and also past corporate experience. So corporate experience is how similar was the past performance that you did in the past. So past performance measures similar work that you did in the past and how good you did it. So how well you did similar work in the past. Whereas corporate experience measures how often you did the same work or similar work in the past. So like how often you did the same or similar work to the current opportunity in the past. That's what corporate experience measures. And one of the reasons why it's used, you don't see it often, but it's used in really critical requirements or requirements where the government is really trying to hone in and get quality responses and weed out the rest. This is what corporate experience does. It provides an opportunity to not only just look at past performance, but they also add a factor in here where it makes the type of contracts that were done in the past much more relative and relevant to the situation. And finally, for this section, also, they may require certified cost of pricing data, or they may require data other than certified cost and pricing data. And that just means it's less formal. Many times the government will ask for other than certified cost and pricing data, and simply because it's information that leads up to certified, but it's not. It's just data points that helps the government to get through determining, cost and pricing to be fair and reasonable and to be realistic. I do want to give one caution. So, this is all covered under FAR Part 15, which is contracting by negotiation. So, of course, if you recall from the last video on the uniform contract format, simplified acquisition procedures, procurements that, basically, and procuring of commercial items, they do not have to utilize the uniform contract format. So there may not be a section L in the opportunity that you're looking at. So what do you do if there's no section L? Where do you get this type of information? Well, the response is that if there's no section L, you need to look for a certain clause. And that clause is 52.212 TAC 12, 52.212 TAC 1, which is instructions to offers commercial items. So this provision for pre-award, and it's a clause after contract award, it's placed in commercial item procurements. And so this clause, 52.212 TAC 1, instructions to offers commercial items, it serves as the same purpose as Section L serves in contracting by negotiation. FAR Part 15, 52.212 serves you in a FAR Part 13 and a FAR Part 12 procurement. FAR Part 12 being commercial items, FAR Part 13 being simplified acquisition procedures. Now, the contracting officer may tailor the instructions that's contained in this clause. So if you see this clause and it's by reference, that means that whatever's in the clause that's what the contracting officer basically is going by, right? This is outside any additional information that may have been posted in the opportunity, the solicitation, RFI, whatever it is, right? But generally speaking, if it's inserted by reference, it's all of the bullet points that's listed in the clause. So you would have to go to the FAR to review that. However, the contracting officer has the ability to tailor these instructions, meaning that he or she does not have to use the entire list. And also, if you recall, a contracting officer operating under simplified acquisition procedures and FAR Part 12 commercial item procurement procedures, they can use portions of the uniform contract format. So they can do this kind of gumbo type of soup type of, procedure, if they will, or in this case, instructions to offer. So in simplified acquisition procedure, it behooves of you to be very careful and read the entire RFP, because some of the RFPs I've read, most recently, some of this information could be anywhere. It's because there's a lot of cut and paste sometimes, and it happens. It is what it is. It's part of the job. And sometimes things get missed or they get placed in the wrong location. So it's very critical that you read these opportunities from front to back more than one time. So I'll just kind of end with some of the key elements that are contained in the 52.212 TAC 1 clause for commercial item procurements under simplified acquisition procedures. So the NAICS code, the North American Industry Classification System code, and the business size standard is listed in this clause. Submission of offers, meaning that where you need to submit them, when it's due, by what time, all of that. Period of acceptance of offers, how long your quote needs to be valid for, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, whatever it is the government's asking for. 1 year is pretty long, but more along the lines of, sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes people use 3 months, sometimes it's 6 months, most usually. Product samples, whether multiple offers are allowed, like can one company submit 2 or 3 bids? Will the government make more than one award? So it's valuable to know that, because that increases your chances, and it may actually make you decide to actually bid on it if you know that there's going to be more than one award, because you have a higher percentage chance of winning as long as you do your due diligence and submit a proper bid. And also, debriefing information is contained in this clause, which is actually very valuable, because keeping in mind that debriefings in the sense of FAR Part 15 are not required under FAR 13 procurements. So if there is some debriefing information that's listed in that clause, it's, behooves you to read that and adhere to it, particularly in the case of if you do not win, you do want to still try to get as much information as possible, and whatever information that the government is willing to provide at that time. So that's the conclusion of this video. So we talked about Section L, and we talked about the key information and instructions that are contained in Section L, and why Section L should be an X on your government contracting treasure map. All right, guys, have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.